That'd be sweet. Here's your rules. You can only add and subtract like terms. And you got to simplify the radical. So, write this down. 3x minus x. Above 3 times square root of 2 minus square root of 2. What is 3x minus x? What's 3x minus x? 2x. Now look, you got in your pocket, you got 3 square roots of 2. In your pocket, you got 3 square roots of 2. You're going to subtract 1 square root of 2. So how many square roots of 2 you got? You're going to have 2 square roots of 2. Tyson, this one. No, let's go this one right here. Let's do this. Negative square root of 5 minus square root of 3 plus 2 square roots of 5. Which ones are your like terms? This one? And this one. So what's a minus square root of 5 plus 2 square roots of 5? So you're just going to have 1 square root of 5 minus square root of 3. Now this is a sweet problem. 3 times the square root of 6 minus 3 times the square root of 54 plus 2 times the square root of 3. This guy has got to bug us right here. You can simplify it. Square root of 54 is not simplified. You can divide 54 by which square? By 9. So let's just look at negative 3 square root of 54. Okay, I'm going to break it up. I'm going to write this. Negative 3 times the square root of what? 9 times what's 54? 9 times square root of 6. So, I do that because I love this. What's the square root of 9? So here's what you got. You got a negative 3 times 3 times square root of 6. What's negative 3 times 3? The
There's supposed to be one more 3 there.
Which one of these problems have like a secret component?
right here.
It's the square root of 9.
Like, negative 3 times 3 times 3, right?
No, just look. Here's my only 3, right?
Yeah.
So I got negative 3 times square root of 54. That's equal to a negative 3 times square root of 9 times square root of 6. So I bring this guy down here.
Yeah.
I bring this guy down here.
Only 1 3 though? So you
Well, what's the square root of 9? Square root of 9 is only a 3.
okay, my bad. My bad.
Now let's times them. What's a negative 3 times 3?
Negative 9.
It's a negative 9 times the square root of 6, which can now be added to this square root of 6. So if I have
This is too much work.
3 square roots of 6 minus 9 square roots of 6, how many square roots of 6 do I have?
Negative 6
I've got negative 6 square roots of 6
plus 2 square root.
plus this guy left over, 2 square roots of 3. That's your answer.
So you really gotta think. Like, you can't just,
Yeah, this stuff's pretty fun.
like, how did you know?
First. So on this one, number 4, let's combine your like terms first, which happens to be these square roots of 20.
Negative 5.
So what's negative 3 square roots of 20 minus 2 square roots of 20? Negative 5 square roots of 20. Alright. And then over here, you're going to have negative 3 square roots of 45. Okay, now, this is just like giving me 4/8 as your answer. You're not done. This is not cleaned up. This is not simplified. You need to express the square root of 45 as negative 3 times square root of what?
So how do you know?
9.
What can you divide 45 by? You can divide it by 9 and 5. Okay, you're in love with 9. Because what is the square root of 9? That is going to be negative 3 times 3 times square root of 5. What's a negative 3 times 3? So this is going to clean up and give you a negative 9 times the square root of 5. Now, let's simplify my negative 5 times the square root of 20. What can you divide 20 by? It's got to be a perfect square. 20 by 4. So my negative 5 times square root of 20 is going to be a negative 5 times square root of 4 times square root of 5. And it's going to be a negative 5 times 2 times square root of 5, which is going to be negative 10 times square root of 5 plus negative 9 times square root of 5. Now they're like terms. You combine them and you end up with negative 19 square roots of 5. Yep.
Can we quit recording?
Some can, those can't. Now, multiplying is kind of easier than adding and subtracting. All you do is multiply your radicands together.
What about your outcans?
Your outacans. That's a good question. What about your coefficients? Or your outacans, as Dallas calls them. Let's call this problem 2. Now, here are your coefficients, numbers outside the radical, negative 4 and 5. Yeah, you just times them together. So it's negative 20 times square root. Now, if it's under the radical sign, you times them. 10 times 2 is? Okay. Are you done? Can you clean that up? 20 divides by? So, negative 20 times square root of 4 times square root of 5. So it's going to be negative 20 times 2. That cleans up to 2, and that's square root of 5. So your answer at the end of the day is negative 40 square root of 5. Pretty sweet. Jabry, this is good. 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 Now, Emily, you have got to know how to do the distributive property. Inside the parentheses, you've got 2 terms. You've got some square roots of 2, and you've got a square root of 3. You need to multiply both these terms by a square root of 6. Now, what's the number in front of square root of 6? What's the coefficient? It's just 1. So when I times these guys, I'm going to multiply my coefficients. What's a negative 5 times 1? So it's just going to be negative 5. Now, let's do my radicals. What's the square root of 6 times square root of 2?
12.
It's going to be square root of 12. Square root of 12. Can you divide square root of 12 by something? Alright, let's rewrite this. Negative 5 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, which is negative 5 times 2 times square root of 3. What's negative 5 times 2? So here's what we got. We have got negative 10 times the square root of 3. Put a plus. Now let's multiply it to the second term. What's the square root of 6 times square root of 3?
18.
Square root of 18. Sweet.
We have a 9.
Is that cleaned up?
No. So you got
9?
9 and 2.
Square root of 9 times square root of 2.
You got 3.
3 square roots of 2. You're going to have 3 square roots of 2.
That's simple as you can go.
And can you add these guys up? Can you add square roots of 3 to square roots of 2? So you're done. That's your answer. Last one. What's square root of 6 times the quantity 4 plus square root of 6?
36.
Yeah, that's 1. So 4 times square root of 6 plus what?
6.
6.
Write an extra step, but you can just do it.
4 times square root of 6 plus 6.